Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to do a video that I'm sure it's going to be one that a lot of people are very curious about. And I will be recommending some books in this video later on as well. This video is going to be on the frequency of wealth. I'm going to be talking about the currency of money. I'm going to be talking about limiting beliefs. I'm going to be talking about how I grew up, like with some major limiting beliefs. So some of this might resonate of how I overcame those limiting beliefs so I could allow the alignment of wealth, money, and that frequency into my life, because I had some major blocks, you guys. I had some major ones, and I can tell you right now, I'm at the point where it's like turning in the right direction. And I feel like this is something that's super important to share, especially if you've had a lot of ups and downs. You work so hard and then there's nothing to show for it. And you're like, where did all my money go? Or why doesn't money stick around? This video might resonate with you. So if you want to see my video on wealth frequency, then please keep watching. So growing up, I was very curious about wealthy people. There was some internal energy that was always like when I would see like wealthy people, whether it was on TV or in person, I was so curious because they had this like very expansive aura about them. You can tell they were very confident, their posture was different. And I just secretly in my own body, in my own mind would be like, I wonder what they do differently. And I used to daydream about it, honestly. I would see pamphlets with like lottery houses on them, and I'd be like, oh my God, this is like a big castle, or this is what they call a mansion. And I'd look at my own neighborhood that I grew up in, and I'd be like, nobody has that here, because I lived in a I would say in a middle class neighborhood, right? And at the time I was so curious as a kid. I was like, how did people get these ginormous houses and all this stuff? And but at the same time, it was my dad who had a very poor mindset when it came to money. And he projected it a lot onto me because I was the oldest kid. I don't think my brother got the same treatment as I did, but I sure did, and I'm gonna share it with you guys. So some of the things that my dad would say is like, one of the things that I wanted when I was a kid was a Mustang. For some reason, I was fascinated. Even if my cousin AJ was alive, he would tell you, Pam wouldn't shut up about Mustangs. She would argue whether a Mustang and a Camaro, who would win, you know? That was back in the 90s. I remember saying, when I grow up, I'm gonna have a Mustang. And my dad overheard this conversation, and he said something that I hope to God no other dad says to their daughter or any of their children. But I'm sure that this might resonate with some, and I'm sorry if it does. My dad said to me, oh, you want a Mustang? Well, you end up living in it because the cost of gas, you're never gonna be able to afford the cost of gas. Yeah, my dad said that to me. There's a lot more things my dad, and even till this day, I said, hey Dad, I just test it sometimes because I've done it already. I said to my dad, Dad, I'm gonna only fly first class. My dad's like, oh, good luck with that. Flying first class, yeah, that's like what, $10,000 a flight? I've already flown first class, but he doesn't need to know that. So do you see like some of the stories that I'm gonna have to overcome when it came to limiting beliefs? I was not one of those kids where their dad just hands out money, you know, whenever there's an issue. Nope, I was one that you need to figure your shit out yourself. Okay, I have, and I did. So that was the first thing I had to overcome. And I remember when I was 19 years old, I couldn't wait to get out of my parents' house. Got involved with the guy, which you guys know, who was my ex-husband now, but at the time was my boyfriend. And I was working at a corporate skincare company, and this was at the mall. So this is going back 2007, 2008, around that cusp. Maybe it was more 2007, closer to 2008. I remember going into Chapters books. In the US, it would be like Barnes & Noble's kind of thing. And I was walking through the self-help section. I used to love going in there. And I remember as I walked past, this book fell right onto my foot. I don't know how it fell. A woman saw it too. She goes, wow, that book's talking to you. You might want to take a break and go and read it. And I said, yeah, you know what? I'm going to. So I grabbed a coffee, sat down on one of their tables at Chapters, and started flipping through this book. It resonated so hard. And I think this was printed in 2006. I think it came out. And I was obsessed. As soon as I read the first pages, I was like, this is coming home with me. When I say things are divinely guided, this is divinely guided because I was on my own now. I was so young. I just moved in with my partner and we were having struggles for sure as a young couple. And I wanted to change my mindset. So I followed a lot of the things in this book, and I still do a lot of things that were in this book. I still do a vision board. There's one in my bedroom right now. I would put vacations on there. I would money things on there. I would put trucks on there. I would put anything, and I change it every year. Everything that I learned in this book, I still do it. And it helped me to overcome a lot of things. And so you guys are probably wondering, did you ever get that Mustang, Pam? Oh, hell yeah, I did. And it came through my brother and my mom. My brother's first car was a Mustang. I ended up sharing it with him for a little time, you know, and then it went back to him. But I did get it for a little bit. And I've also owned 2 Dodge Ram 1500s. One I had to let go of during my divorce. But the second one, which is lifted, completely and utterly loaded, exactly what I would want, and I have it, and it's paid off. I don't live in it. I live in a house with an ocean view. Have I flown first class? Yeah. This is why they say, please don't share your manifestations with anyone, even your family. Because a lot of the times the hate you're gonna get isn't gonna be from a stranger. A hate that I get from a stranger, I could just delete you and block you. But you get it from a close friend or a family member, it hits differently. Yeah, it hits very differently. Work through was very difficult. I would work with healers, shamans, energy healers to clear energy of some of the mindsets, some of the projections that was set on to me, not just from my dad, but my dad's side of the family, who I don't even speak to anymore. I have no reason to. I'd rather not because of their mindset, and I'm going to share with you why. So remember I told you I was very interested in the wealth frequency. So there'll be other books at the end I'm going to share, but when I started my business, so my gardening business, this is where I got really strong. I was at my grandma's house, and she said to me, she goes, why don't you guys go and flyer areas where the wealthy people are? And I remember thinking, yeah, why haven't we thought of that? Because obviously that's the frequency that I've been wanting to learn more about anyways. And that's also in The Secret, is to align yourself with like-minded people, right? And my ex, he was kind of a little bit like hesitant because I guess he had a similar mindset to my dad, but in his own different way. And I somehow convinced him, and we went flyering in a very, very wealthy neighborhood in Vancouver. And we landed one. I remember we flyered this house. I felt this expansive energy when we passed the house. And I turned around and I looked at him. He was walking behind me. And I said, hey, you have flyers in your hand? Put it in that mailbox. And I remember he was a little hesitant because a week prior, we got chased by a dog in a different neighborhood, which almost nipped my leg off completely, which was very scary. He goes, I'm a little nervous to walk in there. I said, you know what? I think this area, they don't allow dogs because of the hospice next door. And that is the truth. They do not. And so he flyered that house, and within, I would say, half an hour to an hour, she called, and we landed that client. And that client, I later found out, not right away, it was after my divorce, many years later, they're multi-billionaires. Remember I said I felt that expansive energy? Yeah, multi-billionaires. I didn't know that at the time. I'm kind of glad I didn't, because I was already I was in my early 20s, you guys. I didn't know what I was getting myself into, but I knew the energy of it. It was familiar to me. And you're gonna find out why it was familiar to me. And it's been familiar to me even to the point of where I found out this story. And it's gonna keep going. Wealth has a frequency. Wealth is an energy. Money is a byproduct of that energy. Wealth has a mindset. And to attract and magnetize money, you have to be in the frequency of wealth. If you're not in that frequency and in your scarcity or survival, money will just wash away. And I know, because I have experienced that many, many times, with money coming in with boats and money going out in boats. That first year of building the business, I remember I also went back to Chapters. It seems Chapters was a very famous place for me to go. And I found this book, Secrets to a Millionaire Mind. Okay. So this book here, I remember seeing it. I'm like, oh, I want to learn about the millionaire mind. I have millionaire clients now. I want to understand how they operate. Like, what is their like mindset like, right? Because I was all about learning, and I'm still all about learning. I'm a Gemini. We're all about learning. And I bought this book, and I remember reading the first few pages, and it also says free bonus tickets for the seminar. Well, when I went onto the website to the seminar thing, it said expired. And I was like, oh, great. So this guy, all he's doing is selling me a seminar that I can't attend, or I pay $1,500 or $2,500 for the seminar. And I was like, yeah, hell no. So I took the book back to Chapters the next day, I think 2 days later or something like that. And I slipped it onto the counter, and the lady looks at the title and she goes, what, you don't want to be a millionaire? And I'm like, no, it has nothing to do with me not wanting to be a millionaire. It's the fact that he keeps selling me his seminar. So she took it back. Okay, not even a week later. So when I was trying to build my business and things like that, my ex-partner was still working for a company, and I was also getting subsidized by the government because I had lost my job. So he was working for a gardening company, and I was getting subsidized because I had, first of all, got injured. And it was a hellish time in my life. So all I was doing was money mindset stuff. One of the lowest points. I've had many lowest points. This was one of them. I cannot believe this, because I remember my ex coming home and he brings me this book. And I'm like, are you kidding me right now? I just returned that book. I said, where did you get it? He's like, my boss gave it to me to give to you. And it's actually signed by his boss in here, and gave it to us. And we did end up going to the seminar because he gave us tickets to the seminar. And it was very life-changing. So life-changing that the first month of doing the seminar, my business did $15,000 and then $28,000 after that. It was a very good time. And then all of a sudden things took a turn, as you guys know. Dark night of the soul, all that other stuff. But money for me has always been up and down. Up and down, up and down. Some people would say, oh, Pam, it's your 8th house energy. Yeah, okay, that could be that. Or it could be my 8th life path as well. Could be that too. But there's been highs and then there's been massive lows. So again, I've always kind of been like, okay, money doesn't like me. Or it was just, again, that mindset of, you know, my dad's words playing in the back of my mind, which I later found out why. This would be after my divorce, and I was sitting at my grandma's house. My grandma and me used to spend so much time together. After my divorce, I'd go stay there, take her out. We'd spend the day together. I was in my healing process, and I remember one day grandma finally wanted to open up to me. This is my mom's mom. And she said to me, she goes, I want to talk to you. And I was like, whoa, serious? Like, she's in a serious mode. I said, okay. She goes, your mom already knows of this story, but I need to share it with you from me. And I was like, okay. And she goes, I want you to know something that your grandpa and I never told you children. And also your mom and your aunt don't know either until now. And I'm like, now I'm scared. I'm like, what are you going to share with me? Like, what the hell? And she goes, your grandpa's family and mine came from wealth. Your grandpa more than me though. I go, what? She goes, yeah, your grandpa was old money. And I remember hearing the news for the first time, and everything that she told me started to click. When she started saying, yeah, we had our own gardeners, we had a huge estate property, grandpa's family, now my grandpa was born in the late 1930s. Grandma was born in 1940s, and they were very wealthy at the time. My grandpa's family, so my great-grandfather started a bus company, which did extremely well. It still runs to this day. The crazy thing is that when she started telling me this, everything started to click. And I said to her, I said, well, you guys never showed that you had money, like wealth. She goes, well, what happened was when we moved to Canada from Fiji, She's basically told me like whatever we came with is what we came with. So whatever my grandpa brought is what he brought. That was it. And I was just stunned. And I go, who knows about this? She goes, all your dad's family knows. The things that I realized I forgot to mention in the video is probably going to pop in a lot of people's heads because I forgot to mention it, is how did my dad's side of the family know that my mom's side was wealthy before I knew, before my aunt and my mom knew? That's because most of my family on both sides immigrated from Fiji to Canada. And I have no idea why. For some reason, way before I was born, some of them decided to move here, like my grandpa, his brothers, same with my dad's side, they immigrated here. Still have no idea why, because I would have stayed in paradise. But again, I wasn't there. In Fiji, anyone that had immense wealth, that whole family was famous. And so when they found out that my mom was marrying my dad, well, I guess you could say it went to Gossip Town. So anyways, let's get back to the video. Family knows, but we kept it secret from you kids. So they think that you guys knew, and they think your mom knew too, that she came from immense wealth. And I said, oh, this makes total sense. This is why I was bullied from my dad's side of the family so much. I saw how they treated my mom so poorly. And this also, if this might resonate with some, if they don't like your mom, they don't like you. Remember that. And I remember when I was a kid, I'd watch my mom, them treating her poorly at coming to visit her house, which is my mom's house. I always call it my mom's house. I never call it my dad's and mom's house. It's my mom's house. And I remember everything clicked. My first cousins, especially the female cousins on my dad's side, treated me very bad, bullied, would make fun of my hair, make fun of my, like, how I looked. I got bullied really young, and it made sense now. It's because they thought that I was born into, like, with a silver spoon. That's not what happened. That's not what happened. But what I can say is the frequency of wealth never left my lineage for my mom's side, and that's called to me since I was a kid. I can say that for sure. Where I live right now is a very prestigious area. I lived here before the money arrived, let's just say that. I've been living here for 10 years. I surrounded myself with wealth frequency. All my friends that are in my life right now are multimillionaires. My clients are multimillionaires. They travel the world. And I've aligned myself with frequency of wealth because I won't let my mind go to that poverty mindset again, especially when I've worked so hard to keep this frequency. And those of you that have done the work will understand what I'm talking about because it's really hard. This is why they say when you're working towards something, you're trying to manifest something, not to share it with your closest people, because those people would be your biggest haters. It's like I said earlier, you can, if somebody hates you online, you can just delete them, block them, whatever. But when it comes from your close-knit circles, it's not as easy and it hits you differently. So I've kept my life very hush-hush. Everything you're hearing in my stories is from the past. What I'm working toward now, I'm not sharing because that's to come to pass first. But what I'm trying to say is be very careful who you surround yourself with. Be very careful who you share your manifestations with, because some people are not rooting for your highest potential. And then you have to work against their limiting mindset towards you that they project onto you. And I've had a lot of that, as I shared with you in this video. I don't speak to my dad's side of the family at all. I only speak to one person from that side of the family, and that's it. You really got to pick and choose, especially, you know that saying, it's lonely at the top? You have to really vet who's in your energy field, because some people will just want to be there by default. Some people want to ride your coattails. And again, you deserve more than that. You deserve so much more than that, especially if you're doing the hard work. You're going through the different levels of healing. Before we go, I wanted to share with you the last few books that I have here. These books came later. This one came because obviously The Secret. This is Jack Canfield's The Success Principles. This one's such a good book. I've obviously tabbed it. This is great if you are working towards building a business or change your mindset. I know that a lot of famous influencers have read this book. I think one was Tammy Hembrose. But this is a great book. It really changed my thinking process. And then the next one, this one came to me out of nowhere. It's obviously Joe Dispenza's Becoming Supernatural. I love this book because it talks about frequency, mindset. He's got exercises in here. You know, if you're familiar with Joe's work, this is life-changing. This book here, if you read this, your life is going to be so much more different. You're going to see reality so much more different. This is a great book. And the last one is The Happy Pocket Full of Money. This is a lot similar to the Millionaire Mind one, but it's like more about money itself and your mindset towards money and how to change that. It's got some exercises. I believe it also has affirmations. Affirmations for me helped a lot when overcoming some of the family money stuff. So I would highly recommend this book. It's very easy read. It's so simple. You can even get it on Audible, but I've highlighted some sections. Like I really enjoyed this book. And this is a book that I would probably carry more often with me just because of the simplicity of it. I love doing these kind of videos where I share a little bit about my past, how I overcame some of the most difficult parts of my life. Overcoming mindset stuff is very deep. It can be very challenging, but the right tools can be helpful. One more thing that I forgot to add. One of the most darkest points of my life is where I found my power. That is where I found my power. And so I'm not afraid to share it. So again, thank you so much for watching my video. I hope this video resonated with you, and I will see you guys in the next one.